I set out early in the morning, the sun still yawning behind the hills of Kurialand. My destination, my mother's house in Egeneitambe village, nestled deep inside Ntimaru, Kuria East constituency. My mission was clear, yet so sacred: to gather, piece together, and preserve what remains of the Bakuria culture. A culture so rich yet dangerously undocumented. No books, no films, no archives, just voices, fragile, fading voices, carried by wind and held in the hearts of the elderly. I knew that if I don't act now, I might be too late. Soon those who hold these truths may quietly cross the bridge to the land yonder, and many of them have already gone. As I passed the weather-worn signage of Ntimaru town, my heart stirred with 1,000 memories. Every corner of this rugged path, the uneven road under my feet, mapped the story of my childhood. I must have left 10 million footprints along those trails, chasing goats, running barefoot, laughing with friends, and yet on this day every step felt sacred. I looked up and saw the dark green vegetation lining the roadside, unmistakably home. These weren't just trees and shrubs. They were landmarks of my soul, rooted in memory. A wave of nostalgia hit me, raw and overwhelming. I wept, not from sadness, but from the weight of returning to something so deeply familiar, yet so silently slipping away. As I approached my mother's homestead, my heart hesitated. Would the stories come out clearly? Would the elders still remember? It had been 3 months since I had last seen her. Our only connection these days, the weekly phone calls where her voice often trembled with age. She speaks of her failing health, always reminding me with a heavy heart that she is the last surviving child of Marwa Masiani Merama. Finally I was home, in her tight embrace. Then she begins her tale, a gem from the past, how she left her rural village for Nairobi, guided by one of my father's workmates. She took the train from Kisumu barefoot, wearing only a thin cloth wrapped around her waist, her chest exposed, just as tradition permitted. When she arrived in Nairobi, my father, shocked and embarrassed, rushed to buy her a dress to shield her from the laughter and stares of the city dwellers. My mother tells this story between giggles now, but I know that beneath the humor lies a powerful truth. Ours is a culture of raw beauty, resilience, and transformation, unyielding, and it must not die in silence. And that is why I had to make this journey to Kuria East within the confines of my mother. Enjoy. According to the Bakuria people, marriage was defined. The young man would visit the girl's homestead, smartly and beautifully dressed. He would be in the company of many young men. These young men would fight. They would hold a wrestling match with the young men from the girl's side, and one side must win. And there was a specific area from where this wrestling match was done, at a point called Ege Congo. Then the young people within the girls' homestead would be called, and after the wrestling match, then the boys' team, the boys' entourage would enter the homestead, and there would be a lot of celebration, a lot of feasting and eating. After feasting and eating, this young man never used to go back. He would spend at the girl's homestead. He would spend there together with his best man, together with a young boy who was regarded as somebody who's driving the cows to the girl's homestead. And after the celebration, they would get into bed. The girl would sleep on the left side of the bed, the little boy would sleep in the middle, and the husband-to-be would sleep on the right. And therefore, they are measuring, they are trying it out. So it was part of our marriage tradition. It was a requirement that this be done. And in the morning, they would be served with food, they would eat very well, and the man would dress exactly the way he was dressed the previous day, and the girl would escort him out of the homestead. Immediately this young man reaches their homestead, his mother, along with her friends, along with other old women, they would come to the home of the girl. Then once this entourage of the old women would be carrying gifts, presents, usually in the form of flour, the maize, it could cooking flour, and it would be quite a lot, and they would come and lay it at the entrance to the cow's enclosure. They would wait for the mothers of the home to receive them. A cow would be slaughtered within the cow's enclosure. It is called Embotora. It was a real celebration. Then the mother to the girl would guide the mother to the boy to her bedroom. So the mother to the boy would head straight to the bedroom of the mother of the girl. She would sit there and wait for food. And in those days, there was a lot of beautification process. As you can see, the ears were done this way, and there would be a lot of earrings made of some kind of very special jewelry. We'd have necklaces, we'd have beads. And we didn't have clothes in those days. We used to wear clothes made from grass. Like me, for example, I would wear some kind of cover to my front and my back, just tied around my waist. And you'd wear this as clothes because the upper side from the waist upward was just empty. We used to wear goat skin. The newly married girl was supposed to be cooking. All her maintenance was done from her mother-in-law's place. She would be serving the mother-in-law, the brothers-in-law, the sisters-in-law. She would be cooking for the entire family. But during the night, she goes to sleep in her hut. And she would remain in this homestead until a younger brother to the husband married. Then she would graduate to her own house. And this young lady would be tasked with the responsibility of keeping the cow enclosure clean. She would sweep the cow down, and it was quite a lot because there would be up to 50, 60 cows within the homestead. A wife who cleaned the cow shed was regarded as a hard-working, smart, and intelligent. After she has conceived, on the 8th month, she would undergo a process called isubu. She would be taken to her home at the 8th month, along with a small girl, maybe about 5, 6, 7 years, would have a special small gourd tied on her back. Then this girl would walk in front of this young wife, and there would be a big horn that would be blown as the young mother, together with the girl and along with the escort, then they'll go up to her homestead. On reaching the homestead of the girl, the mother to the girl would take this gourd and place it on the bed to signify that this is a baby. It would be covered on the bed. The reason is that if they didn't do that, then the baby being born could die. This young wife might not raise the baby, and therefore they had to act. They had to enact using a gourd as a baby. After that, the young wife would go back to her matrimonial home, and she would live there. And after she gives birth, if it's a baby boy, after 5 days, the baby will be given a name. If it's a baby girl, it's after 4 days, or the umbilical cord has fallen off. During that time, the baby would be shaved off the infant hair. They would use a knife, a special knife called a kerogembe, and these hair strands would be collected to ensure that no single strand falls on the floor. The hair shaved from the head of the baby is put on cow dung and then spread on the wall of the hut, and then a name is given. Usually it's the father of the boy who will choose the name that this baby will bear, and once he has given the name to the son, then the son would greet his parents using this name, either Nyakuru Chacha, Isakuru Chacha, and that kind of a thing. In those days we didn't have tissues. We used these leaves as tissues to clean the baby. An infant who discharged, who poo-pooed, these are the leaves that were used to clean the baby. And the leaves with the infant poo-poo was not thrown out. The leaves were put under the bed, and they would be piled in the bed to the extent that even if they became so many, they will never be thrown until the day the child is going to be shaved. In the event that the young wife has become barren, she will just remain like that. She will be given traditional herbs, medicine, and sometimes they would give birth later at some point, and sometimes they don't because maybe she is barren. And what the community demanded was that they had to marry for her. They had to bring her a daughter-in-law, even though she didn't have any children. And the daughter-in-law who is brought to this barren woman would make a family for this barren woman. In those days, if so many children died in a given family, this family was required to migrate, to abandon this homestead and move to another homestead, or rather put up a home in another place. In those days, in the event that a father, an old man, discovered or met a girl who was good enough to be his daughter-in-law, he would come and demand that his son marries that girl. Therefore, it is the fathers who selected wives for their sons, and they had no alternative. They had to marry those girls. Also in those days, husbands would kill their wives, and it was not a big deal because it was said he has only killed his property. I remember even like my uncle, he killed his wife. He beat his wife and broke her leg. And later on, her leg became rotten until she died. In those days, any woman who gave birth to twins, the twins would be killed. They would be drowned in water in a tray. Those women who gave birth to children who brought feet first, it was a taboo, and such babies were killed. They would also be drowned. Such children were called equitant. It was believed that they cannot survive. Children who brought forth their teeth from the upper jaw, they would also be destroyed. However, they would be taken far away and be placed along the path, along footpath, along the road. And by good luck, those passers-by who had no children could pass by and collect those children and take them away, and then the child would just survive. I remember in my own village, there was a woman who gave birth to so many twins. Every time she gave birth, they were twins, and they would be destroyed. At some point, she decided to hide one baby and kind of get rid of one baby. The doctor took up this baby and raised this child, and he became a very strong, powerful giant. It became successful. At some point, the parents who had thrown away that son, they wanted him back, and the doctor refused, and even the boy refused because he only knew the doctor as his parent. There was another ceremony called Isubo in my community. This was a ceremony that graduated an old man to the hierarchy of Abakuria Senior Council of Elders. These were the community gatekeepers. These were the policy makers. These ones were almost like a cabinet to the Abakuria people. And for one to graduate, there was a very special ceremony. The old man graduating to become in Umusubere would spend with the cows the whole night in the cow's enclosure. There was a cow skin within the cow's enclosure, and that's where this old man slept basically to graduate as a man. They were powerful. They had medicine. These people had very powerful charms. There was a kind of conflict resolution within my community, and it was called ekehore. This is where somebody drank water from the skull of a human being. They were using the skull as an oath taking. Are you telling the truth? Yes. Okay, drink water from the skull. And if it is the truth, nothing will happen to you. But if it is lies, if you are lying, then you would perish. Your family would perish. You'd bring a curse upon your family. And even the person who is accusing you was also made to drink water from the skull. In the event he is lying, something terrible will happen to him. Something terrible will happen to his family. Once believed that having many wives was beneficial in the sense that during ceremonies, these wives would work as a team. They would serve the guest with a lot of ease, even going to farm to cultivate the land, the fields. It would be very easy, meaning that families with polygamous families, they never went hungry. Even my own husband married 3 wives. In fact, I'm the one who told my husband to marry 2 wives. My husband married me when I still wore goat skin, and when I reached his home, he gave me a lasso, a small piece of lasso, and this was the only dress code that I had. And during those days, we never really used to cover our breasts, we never used to cover our chest, and I stayed with my husband for some time. At some point, my husband got a job in Nairobi. He left me in the village, and after about 1 year, he sent his workmate to come and collect me from the village. But unfortunately, he did not give him any dressing. I only had that cloth that he had left me 1 year ago. I had a lot of bangles on my hands, I had earrings, I had necklaces. All these things I removed in readiness to travel to Nairobi. So when this man came for me, it is only that cloth that I took and tied it around my waist, and together we set out for Nairobi. And on reaching Nairobi, when my husband saw me, he was embarrassed, he was ashamed. He quickly rushed out and bought me a dress, so that later on he bought me more clothes, he bought me shoes, and I also now started copying the people in Nairobi. He also started putting me at the same level with the women in the city, and I became also a city dweller. I became a Nairobian. I also became a townish. And so even when I came back home, I looked so different, and the women in the village were coming to see me like some kind of a ghost, some kind of a miracle. And they were really amazed how much I had transformed. I had shoes, I had clothes, and I even had a watch on my arm. And life had really changed for me, and I remember those things with a lot of amusement and a lot of nostalgia. I do miss my husband. Ay, 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 ay,